16-year-old student by a housekeeping staffer at a private school in Noida. The victim's mother has now claimed that her daughter was molested by the same man a couple of weeks ago as well. Now, according to a report in the Times of India, the mother has alleged that the accused had taken her daughter to the school's medical room and had sexually abused her on the 4th of October. But before this, the same man had reportedly molested the minor earlier as well in the school's playground while she was playing on a slide. The shocking part of this revelation is the report that when the mother of the minor called the class teacher on the 8th of October and asked her about the two incidents, the teacher reportedly tried to brush them under the carpet and suggested that the kid may have watched an inappropriate video online instead and was narrating the events as her own. This is evidently quite a shocking incident, not just the fact that this has happened in a very posh school in Noida, the fact that it has happened twice, and the fact that it has also been brushed away by the school. I'm being joined right now by my esteemed guest, Dr. Bhavna Barmi, child and clinical psychologist, Dr. Renu Sehgal, noted educationalist, and also Advocate Shikha Sharma, Baga, Director, Forum of Indian Parents at this point. Let me start first of all by Dr. Renu Sehgal here, given the fact that you run a prominent school as well. What is shocking to me in this case is, Dr. Sehgal, that obviously parallels are being drawn to what has happened in Badlapur. But this is the school in question here is a very prominent school in a tier 1 city such as like a satellite town of Delhi, and yet one would expect at least the staff and the teachers of such an important school to be trained enough to take these complaints seriously. Yet the disturbing revelation coming in from the mother of the victim in this case is the class teacher, when apprised of these comments, actually tried to brush them under the carpet and ignore the fact that the kid had gone through the same horror at the hands of the staff member not once but twice.
I think, the schools should take up the responsibility and should be training their staff as well as teachers. One has to be truthful and one has to be attentive enough. We are educationists. We are the entire responsibility of the students, whether it is major or minor, lies with the school, as long as they are in the school. And when they are with the parents, the responsibility lies with the parents. I think it's undone from the school, where things are being hidden and the truth has not been spoken out. I feel as an educationist, our moral duty is to measure and to secure the safety and security of the children, especially the minors ones who are not matured enough to know the reality. It's wrong on the part of the school. And as an educationist, I feel every teacher should be trained morally. And, the ethics have to be kept in mind, where things of such disaster should not happen. And, the person has to be penalized. And I feel a school holds the entire responsibility in such a case where the safety of the child has not been taken into consideration.
Advocate Shikha Sharma Baga, as a concerned parent, do you feel the lack of training and sensitivity is the reason why this is happening? Because I would bring this down to common sense. I'm sure as a teacher, one is aware instinctively of the responsibilities, especially upon him or her, in order to ensure the safety of the young wards that come and spend time with the teacher in question for multiple hours at the school. Surely it should not come down to someone not being trained enough. If a concern is highlighted to you, especially by a young child who is 3.5 years old, I see a reason why any logic would ask you to not take it seriously and instead brush it under the carpet, unless there is some sort of a pressure coming in from the school management.
Yeah, I was about to say this because the fault of the teacher is not exactly what is being portrayed here. Because teacher is usually the mother in the school. These days we used to call them as a mother teacher when in the terminology of the schools. Now, this is actually the issue of the management who is brushing up lots of money in the name of peace and in the name of safety and security. And when the child has been sent with a such a to an institution for which a parent should be careful for this period of time, that the parent should be totally, feeling secure about the safety of the child, that the school is, that the child is safe. And such kind of incidents, when actually the incidents not has happened, but the attempt have been made to suppress that incident, that is more serious. Many a time these kind of incident, when it is actually a small minor child, a 3-year-old child, was not able to able to explain that what has happened actually to her. She was not able to actually could feel that what actually is the molestation. At this time, the responsibility of the society, the school management, as well as the teacher also, I'll say that whatever the management will say to you, you don't have to be the mouthpiece of the management. You as a human, as a mother also, or as a mother teacher, have
Absolutely.
the equal responsibility in the school while the child is in your custody. When that has to be the teacher has to be responsible equally. But the management also need to be booked. I have also faced similar kind of incidences in some other school, and there also the management used to have deep pockets and somehow used to manage the offenses and suppress the incidents. And this is a very serious issue, I feel.
Okay. Advocate Baga, okay, let's look at possibly try and play devil's advocate. Let's look at the hypothesis that perhaps the teacher was not able to grasp the severity or the seriousness of the incident because at the end of the day, it's a 3.5-year-old kid, and perhaps she did not communicate it in a way in which the teacher could have grasped the seriousness of it. In that case, let me bring in Dr. Bhavna Barmi, who's a child and clinical psychologist. Dr. Barmi, when we are engaging with kids who are so young as 3.5 years, who are still trying to understand the concept of a good touch or bad touch, what are the warnings, indications that as a parent or as a teacher one should keep in mind when trying to understand the body language or at least the verbal communication which is being made by a kid in such a case?
One of the very important things to note is that the child, after going through something as gruesome as this, usually becomes different from his or her normal behavior and reactions. So, what is important is that suppose the child was an extroverted person earlier, extroverted child earlier, you would often see a contrast happening. The child will become quiet, the child will want to stay alone, the child will want to be away from people, he will not want to talk. Versus if a child was introverted, then she may start becoming very, very angry. She will start expressing herself
Okay.
in either self-harm, harm to others. So, one red signal to all of us is that we should be able to identify a change in the child's behavior or actions. Because as young as 3.5 years, a child may not be able to express what she has gone through, what he has gone through. But a contrast is the first signal. Second is that this child will present itself with certain kinds of aches and pains. The psychosomatic manifestation is going to be higher than the emotional and mental manifestation with very young children. So take that sensitively. Don't ignore it. Ye kuch bhi nahi hai. Try and see what is the child trying to say. And when you start seeing this kind of a contrasting behavior, then what is very important is for you to tell the child that this is a safe space. I understand that something is troubling you. I want you to share whatever is in your mind, and very importantly, reassure them that nothing that you share is going to hurt you more than what you have gone through. So that reassurance in itself will be very, very positive for the child to be able to express. So mind these
But Dr.
things.
Bami,
Next set
these
of
are red
symbol,
signals
I just
which
complete.
can be noticed and which can be identified. Okay. No, so I completely
I
get your
just wanted
point
to
about these
also
red signals
feel
which you're mentioning. But Dr. Bami, to my mind, these are signals which can be identified when, as a parent, when you are constantly, when you can understand and identify differences, minute differences in the body language or in the behavior of a child. But if you have to be realistic, if you look at a school where a class teacher or a teacher has to deal with about 30 to 40 children, if not more, uh, is it very feasible or is it practically possible for a teacher, or should the teacher be trained and sensitized to a point that she should actually be able to monitor the individual differences in body language in each of these children? Is that something also which schools need to start looking at?
Point well taken, but I'm saying that this is not going to be a slight shift in the child's behavior. It is a contrasting shift, which is very, very evident.
Okay.
A child who used to be quiet is becoming aggressive. A child who used to be very talkative is becoming quiet. So I'm saying a contrast as a behavior change is easy to notice. Second thing that is easy to notice is some kind of a psychosomatic ache or pain that the child expresses to the teacher or at home. And the third important thing is academic decline. Attention, concentration, forgetfulness is impacted. And thereby, the teacher will get to know. But yes, we need to be sensitive. We need to get trained. It is not easy because the child is not expressing. So we need to go and be very, very sensitive to each child that you are having in your class, especially in the primary school levels.
All right, that understood very well, Dr. Barmi. Advocate Baga, as a parent, again, the security lapses in a school, given the fact that this happened not once but twice. And the first time it happened on a slide in the playground. Now, schools will often come up with the argument that you cannot have a CCTV camera at every nook and corner, because then you are bringing in a highly securitized, militarized zone almost in a school premise, which is not very conducive to learning. But as a parent, does that explanation satisfy you, given the fact that somehow schools are failing to ensure that children are safe, especially from people on their own payroll? In this case, it was a staff member who did it twice.
I think this is a rubbish statement by if it has been done by this given by the school, because actually what you just told that there are 35 students. No, it is not 35 students in a class. There is a strict parameters, strict regulations of the government that under Right to Education Act there has to be only 15 to 20 students in a class in this, especially in nursery, pre-primary, in these kind of classes. The younger children, they need two teachers as well in each class, and one maid or a helper in the school. Actually, these schools are brushing off the money from the parent, but they are not providing the competent teacher. Another is that teacher also need to be qualified enough. The child psychology is also a part of curriculum of every teacher education program. If the school used to hire anyone from the society, anyone who is coming to them and without having the proper teacher training program, then this is also one of the major issue why these kind of incidents is happening. It is not at all difficult to identify a child that something has happened to a child. If as a mother I can understand, the teacher also was in the class, she also was very well aware of the fact that something has happened, could easily make out how the child can go more than 10 to
Okay.
15 feet. There has to be different washrooms and all. The child cannot go at all. She has a child has to be in the touch of the class teacher as well as throughout the time, as well as the staff members. So there's a complete lack
Okay.
of mismanagement by the school management. There is a criminal conspiracy, I must say in a strong word, that they should need to be booked for this kind of practice if it is happening, and this kind of statement in such an unethical, immoral statement by the school management. And especially it was a duty of the school as well as of the teacher to report this incident
Okay, let
instead
me
of
then put that
suppressing the
across to
fact.
Dr. Renu Sehgal, someone who represents as an educationist who understands how these schools work. Dr. Sehgal, the allegation coming in from someone who, as a parent, is a representative parent body, is that the school management's first instinct in the case of such a scenario is to always try and brush it under the carpet so that the school does not suffer from a damage to its reputation and a damage to its brand value. And therefore, it doesn't essentially boil down to a lack of training or lack of sensitization. It boils down to a lack of ethics. isn't there a massive trust deficit that now prominent schools in prominent urban cities are now facing, because with this number of cases increasing and more importantly the instance of schools trying to brush it on the carpet, there is a trust deficit that comes in when it comes to parents believing in the safety and security of these schools?
Actually, the parents are very much trusting the school. First, foremost duty of the school is to hire such staff members whose psychometric analysis is being done. And on the psychometric analysis, we get to know the intentions of the teacher or the class 4 employee or anyone else. And yes,
No, but Dr.
like
Sehgal, if
rightly
the
it was
management of
said,
a school
in
is
a
not proactive enough to escalate these complaints seriously, can we really put it down to the lack of psychometric abilities of the teachers or the staff members?
I think the schools are taking up, and any good school, such school should not be allowed to run if such things are not taken into consideration
Hmm.
seriously. I think the first more priority and our target has to be the child safety and everyone's safety. Why child safety? Even the female faculty members' safety. Everyone's safety is very important, and any such owner who's not investing money in such things where psychometric analysis is not being done, the safety security is not taken into
Okay.
consideration, and the nannies are not accompanying the children to the washrooms. Female nannies are required to be there to take care of the children, and such things should not be given the permission by the affiliation, for the affiliation to be done by any board as such. We need to find out and we need to justify. And first of all, more
Yeah,
than
so
a teacher or
I
more
think
than a
it's
management, you
important
are
in
a
this
human
case
being.
that
And
strict penal action be taken against the school. It's yes, long-term reforms are required in terms of sensitization, in terms of proper training of the staff members, but also a school which, in this case, if the allegations are true and has decided to brush things under the carpet, exemplary action needs to be taken against the school. Dr. Renu Sehgal,
yeah,
Advocate Shika
absolutely.
Sharma, and of course Dr. Bhavna Barmi, thank you so much for joining us on this very short but meaningful debate.